What's going on, all zero of you watching so far? We're just doing a basic live video from the studio. Look at all those beautiful corals, man. Dang. Promise you, those blue acro, there's no filter right now. We're not using any filter. This is just the acro tank. But as you can see, there's not really much room for coral. So this is one of the coral flats. Ooh, wow, we got a lot of people here. We're going to put together a really cool little live stream for you guys. I hope this is coming through as good. What's up, Fish Pony, James Griffith, Junior Flores, Gardner? We're actually shooting on an iPad Pro right at the moment, but here's a tank, just totally full of stuff. And for those of you just joining us, we're going to be doing a kind of a little tour around the studio. I want to reiterate to the viewers that we are not using any camera filters. But as you can see, there's a lot more tanks to show you guys. If you're enjoying the stream, make sure to give it a like. That helps with the discovery. What's up, Danny Slinger, Tommy Maples? We're going to look at some of these tanks and do a little bit of live tank building. Say hi, Windsor. Windsor's going to be shuttling some of the questions my way that you guys have. I hope you guys can hear me okay. Someone let me know if the audio's coming good. What's up, MB Reef? What's up, Micah McCloskey, Sherry's Reef, Queen City Reefs? So if you can tell, we got a little project here going on. Someone let me know that the audio is looking good, or sounding good at least. All righty. All right, Evan, you want to take over? I just want to say hi to cameraman Evan.
Hey there.
Him and I have twin voices. And yeah, thanks, Blue Reef, for the audio. Andrew, freshwater corals. Oh yeah, that's my jam. All right, Evan, if you want to take over here. Thank you to everybody for tuning in. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. You're not shadowing this stuff yet? Okay. So we were just about to set up a little kind of a timeout little reef tank for two corals that are just a little bit too large. And I thought to myself, we haven't done a single live stream this year. And so we did a little test using the iPad Pro and our networks and seemed to turn out pretty good. And the tanks are looking really, really stellar. If there's any haze on the glass, we wiped the glass down a couple days ago. But they're still very much presentable. So the tank we're going to be working with today is a nice UNS 60U. It's a 20-gallon tank. And we're going to relocate two jumbo corals to this aquarium. We've been prepping to do this tank build for a little while, so we're going to put together this tank in less than an hour. I'm going to stretch it out to an hour. Again, if you're just joining us, thank you so much. I think it's going to be a really fun live stream. We're just warming up, letting you guys kind of pop in. If you like the stream, make sure to give it a like, and that helps us with the discovery of this video. But before we get into the UNS tank, this is kind of like a hodgepodge, just things that are on my mind. Evan, if you want to come in and show off a little closer, this is the brand new Pukani Rock from Tropic Eden. Now, I haven't been really excited about man-made rock. You know, it's usable and it's workable, but this Pukani Rock, I don't know how much detail you can see right there, but aside from the glossiness factor, Tropic Eden just like crushed it out of the park. It looks like every rock is made up of these little bits here, and then they glued that together. And my understanding is they actually bake this. So this is one rock. Look at that. Just super cool and dynamic. Really open. All you old timers who are familiar with the Pukani Rock. I mean, you can just picture yourself being like a little fish, just having a whole world inside of there. So if you care about surface area, that's pretty cool. Here's an arch piece. This is not a sponsored video. This is just me crushing on some rock. Here's a nice little arch. You can see this is how it's made, and every piece is just like a combination of stuff. And then what I thought was pretty clever is they made a shelf rock. You got it, Evan?
Yeah.
He's just plugging into a secondary battery. I made a shelf rock with a base on it because anytime you use a shelf rock, you're going to have to put it on two things. And I feel like there's going to be some really creative ways to kind of lock this up and have your nice overhangs. So let's see what we got here. Just going to set this aside. And this is actually a rock they make. So if you have a Nano Tank, they actually offer a rock this small. It's by the pound, but this thing weighs a few ounces. So I guess it could cost a few bucks. So let's take a look at the tank that we're going to be working with. This is going to be super simple. I hazard to even call it a reef tank. It's going to be more of like a coral holding aquarium for a couple jumbos. But I was one of the first big fans of Ultim Nature Systems because of the super high clarity glass. And most of all, this mitered edge. Let me get some of this plastic here, you'll be able to see. Evan, I don't know if you can show them this mitered edge. And I really feel strongly that that is kind of the future of high-end reef tanks, or at high-end glass tanks. From above, you can see that it's cut at an angle. And just as like a general tank nerd, I just find that super duper cool. Never mind the super clear aspect. Unfortunately, these guys have been most well received in the freshwater aquascaping world. It's not unfortunate. It just means that we haven't seen too many of these tanks in the reef aquarium world. So I'm gonna get my leveling mat out right here. And then we'll get the tank up on top of it. How dramatic would it be if I broke the tank on the live stream? No coming back from that. Once again, thanks to everybody for tuning in. We're just getting away some basics. I promise there's not much tedious stuff to get through. All righty. There we go. Beautiful. So that's step one for setting up a little nano reef tank. Evan, if you want to pass it over, I want to show our viewers kind of the corals that we're dealing with here at the studio. Look at all those corals, you guys. I see 79 of you guys watching, but only 26 thumbs up. We're doing our token live stream of the year here because it's getting really late and I realized that I hadn't done a single kind of coral live stream. And again, thanks for the comments on reef therapy. You can see one of the biggest problems or the challenges that we have here at the studio right now is we have no room. So we're going to set up this tank to pull out a couple jumbos to make some room. Almost feel like that elegance coral would be a great candidate. Yes, more thumbs up, more thumbs up. Oh, I see you guys doing it. I see you guys doing it. No filter, you guys. This is the real life appearance of these tanks, with a little compression and shakiness, I guess. But what we tend to do is have most of our large colonies kind of towards the center. And then this is kind of like the frag nursery right here. We've got a little bit of the low light stuff here on the edges. So we got some of this green goblin and acropora, some TNT, Manila Spy, and then kind of a random orange anacropora right there. It's funny for a guy who doesn't like zoanthids. I sure do have a lot of zoanthids, don't I? This is the zoanthid corner. Just every normal named strain that you can come up with. And as you can see, I'm absolutely a sucker for sun polyps. To be honest, one of the reasons I want to do this live stream is these corals have never looked better. Just the only problem we're having now is some of these flat table acro have gotten big and they've kind of broken off the bases that we put them on, and they've just kind of tipped over. So that is our biggest challenge right now. Another really cool one. This is that really curvy stag that we got on Black Friday. And we cut all the tips because they were all like rounded and stuff. And you can see they're all growing back super duper well. Somebody's working on a stand for their new build, man. It's always fun to get some reef aquarium work done. There's my bird's nest collection right over there with some stylophoras. And let me show you the first guy we're going to be pulling out of this tank. So I'm planning to put 2 corals in this aquarium. 2 big corals that just are just too big for where they're at. So I'm going to put a couple in there and just kind of put them in a little bit of timeout. So the first coral that we're going to put in there, and honestly, we're just going to fill it up and put 2 corals in, is this fox coral. I got this jumbo fox coral from Scott Anderson and Mile High Reefers. I swear, that's one of the few corals I got. I put it in that corner, and it's never been touched. Never been touched. Hey, if you guys are watching this right now, let us know where you're watching from. You know, we just got back from Mexico City, and we just really love learning more about where reefers are from, their country, their state, their city, because there's a lot of reef aquarium culture that's kind of different across the globe. So that guy is going to go in the tank build almost right away. Holla to Sherry's Reef, Justashiko, X52, Fishy World, Ritter's Reef. Oh my goodness, you guys are going too fast. You guys are going too fast. And this is the explicitly, like, this is the super highlight tank. This is the Acropora system. Those acros are just as blue as they look. And just for something a little different, got 3 token giant clams that just knock everything all around. I have to like rejigger them back into position almost every day. This Durasa right here, he's a squirter. He likes to close up real quick and put a little jet up out of water, and we have to be like, oh no, what's that big old splash? And then we're good. Yeah, so here's the acro tank. Thanks everybody for letting us know where you are. Make sure you give this video, this live stream, a like so other people can discover it. I've got a couple fun table acros right here. This is a old school Fiji Acropora 2 twilensis. You can see how beautiful those pink tips are getting there on the edge. Not a hype coral or hype frag, but if you're an old timer and you remember some of the Fiji corals, shout out to my buddy Taka of Aqua Boulder, who basically gave me almost that entire coral. And let's take a look at it from the other side. I know somebody's going to ask what this green coral is over here, and this is a couple different, 3 different strains of horn coral, hydnophore. So we got the neon green, we got the green with a little bit of grayish tentacles, and then it's a different species that's super neat because it's kind of like grayish brown with a lot of green tentacles. Yeah, and here you can see a couple more examples of our tables having fallen down. So they were glued at like a parallel to the bottom, and they've, because of the flow and their growth, they just kind of tipped and broken off their base and just kind of fallen over. It's getting a little bit bluer here later at night. And then just kind of get back to the tank build over there. One of the things I did to kind of cheat is I have been seasoning a canister filter just for a day. And the only reason I'm using a canister filter is because it's such a beautiful aquarium. I don't want a bunch of stuff hanging off of it. So we're going to go to the lily pipe route for some of you freshwater folks there. And then another small trick we already did is keep that pointed here. Is in all of the sumps here, I try to keep like a little bit of biomedia just in case I need to set up a tank like this, right? So here's an example of one from Polyp Lab. This is the Polyp Lab Genesis. And I try to keep the super high surface area biomedias in all the tanks for sharing. So holla if you saw the tank build series at Ecotech Marine, where I sent them my corals and I sent them a couple pre-season bricks. Yeah, holla if you do this as well, as far as like having a small degree of biomedia. So we're going to walk you around the studio just a little bit more. That's going to be a really easy tank to set up. It's going to be so fast. We've got the LPS tank. To be honest, all the tanks are in need of some grooming. They all need some attention because the only challenge we're having right now is corals getting too big, falling over, corals getting too big, stinging what's next to them, corals getting too happy, and really, really letting those sweepers go. So here's the Euphilia aquarium filled with like all the torches, hammers, frog spawns, corals in between. And on the back row, we've got a few different strains of really nice galaxias. The 2 galaxias on the left are actually gold strains. They're a little bit dark, so they're in the darkness, so they should be brighter. But I'm a big fan of the galaxias. They're just super freaking neat. And then let's see, this is the mix tank right here. This is a mix of everything. If it's not an LPS, it's not an acro, if it's not a euphilia, if it's not a soft coral, it just kind of goes in here when I want to really observe it. And this tank doesn't really have a theme, but that's almost the theme of this particular reef tank. Over here, got the mangroves. These guys are growing out of control. Like next year, like next week, I really got to figure out how I'm going to be trimming these trees, bonsai them a little bit, just kind of keep them a little condensed before let them grow out of the tank. But since I installed the automatic mister, those things have like grown more in the last 6 months than they have the last 2 years. And in here we have all soft corals. This is kind of the same problem I'm trying to address with this tank. I put all the giant soft corals in here just to get them together. And you'd be surprised, man. Soft corals sting each other. I put only really healthy soft corals in here, and then one of them just decided, nah, I don't like it. So he's almost never opened up in about a month to 6 weeks. And moving right along, it's kind of a token freshwater tank. It's actually set up like a saltwater aquarium. So it has a sump, it has an automatic filter roll, and I've got a couple angels, a discus, and like 15 zebra plecos. And then all the other fish are just kind of carryovers from previous aquariums. But let me show you the other coral that we're going to be moving into the Timeout tank. Timeout because they're doing too good and they're taking up too much space. It's a weird thing to say. How are we doing on comments? You're doing great? All right. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. This is one of the tanks that needs like direction. If you'll remember, there used to be a lot of scolies there on the back. But one thing that I learned is untouched, that coral will stay there, no problem. But between the fish and a couple emerald crabs and some decent flow, man, there was just always something falling. So I don't know if I would do like the rock wall again for non-encrusting corals, right? So some of the lobos on the left, the blastomusas on the left and lords, clearly they will grow and then crush and attach themselves. But it's just like a matter of time for the scolies and the cinerinas to fall down. So this is the green bubble coral that we are going to pull out of this tank right here. This guy, you can see he's just taken up way too much space and he's been getting bigger and bigger and bigger by the day. This is a nice gold bubble coral. How's that showing up right now, Evan?
Looks good.
Yeah.
Blue, but...
Yeah, I mean, this tank is blue. But yeah, this is the guy we're going to move because I know when he's super happy, he's just going to he's already starting to chew on this scolemia right here. So I'm just going to just get him a little mad, get him to close up a little bit. Come on, buddy. Help me. And then, there's some more bubble corals over here, but we're not going to move those quite yet. So thanks again to everybody tuning in on the live stream. I think we're going to, the last thing I want to show you is the light that we're going to use on this tank. I'll probably fire it up once we get the corals in the tank, but I've been doing these tanks on kind of like affordable reefing, and I found this really cool light. It's called a Lux Care, and it's about 25 watts. It's really cheap. I don't expect it to last forever. I'm sure if you bought 5 of them, one of them probably would break soon and the other one would break later, but it's only $50 and it should be just enough light for the corals we want to keep in that particular aquarium, and we'll fire it up once you get it on the tank. So if you guys have any questions about the studio, I got a preemptive one. Evan, let's walk over to the Nano Tank because everybody's always asking about the Nano Tank. And here it is. This is a tank also we have done. So this tank is over 2 years old now. I set it up with my partner, Ryan. We set it up in one day. And at the time, this is only 2 years ago, we got a lot of pushback on setting up a reef tank in one day. And wouldn't you know it, now people are starting to kind of catch on a little bit, because if you put just corals in there on day one, they are the filter. That is your biology. But this is the Nano Reef tank, virtually untouched, man. We've done 3 or 4 water changes in 2 years, and it was never to handle nutrients. It was never to address an issue. It was maybe just to suck out a little bit algae, but you see you have nice coralline on the back. We've let the rocks kind of just like fall and slide a little bit. So in a new year, I think we're just going to get in there and just kind of lift up the rocks and pretend to curate the reef tank a little bit. But otherwise, this tank has been rocking. We don't do any dosing. We don't do any testing because it's just so easy to do a water change. But I want you guys to know we do very heavy dosing and testing on all these aquariums. So it's about what you want to do. And with kind of a template that we set with this tank, we're going to do the same with this other tank over here too. So I think first step is to fill up the tank, right? Just put some water in it. And I'm going to cheat a little bit because I can use the canister filter to fill up the tank. We're going to set it up, just kind of rudimentary style. Ooh, come on, come on. And then we will touch it up as time goes by. So this, like I said, this is a UNS Delta canister filter, and it's pre-seasoned with some biomedia. Nope, this goes the other way. Just like that. So this tank is going to be technically separate from the main system, but in an effort to reduce how much we have to test or dose, we're not going to test or dose this tank. We are simply going to drain this tank once a week or exchange the water with the main system. So whatever this system is doing, this tank is going to be doing. So let me see what I can do to get this started to fill. That is going to splashity splash splash. Let me go ahead and take that off. Evan, you want to show them some beautiful corals while this starts filling up? Yes.
Micah wants to know, what is your target range for nitrate and phosphate?
Um, Micah, thank you for the question. So she asked about nitrates and phosphates. And I would have to say for the last 25 years, I've been aiming for mostly zero on that stuff, right? That was just kind of like the classic thing to do. And because there's such a big concentration of corals in here, I have been running like hyper low nitrates, and I couldn't figure out why my corals were uh, not well colorful and just growing super slow, and some of them weren't growing. But earlier this year, Hannah came out with a really good test kit that wasn't just different shades of pink. So we were able to, calculate that our tanks were just deserts, nutrient deserts. So as a longer-winded answer to your reply, man, I don't know. I don't know what the good answer is. I'm sure if you're a coral farmer, most of them are saying about 10 to 20 parts per million on the nitrate. And I think it's important to have some. All right. So, and then with the phosphates, unless you're farming corals, you shouldn't have to dose it. Feeding should be enough. And you want a food that actually has phosphates because that is part of the food. So I say, keep them low, but not zero. Low, not zero. That's the chant when it comes to nutrients. All right, that's going to take a little while, so I'm going to grab a picture. I haven't shown them a little more pretty stuff. And thank you everybody for tuning in. This is our token live stream here at the end of the year because I realized we haven't really done any. Holla if you guys enjoy reef therapy or some of the articles that we do or some videos, We've got a really cool video from Mexico coming very soon. So we're just over here filling our 20-gallon aquarium. This is going to go a little faster here. Make sure to like if you guys are watching the live stream. We're just going to get this tank filled, plop a couple corals in here. And I'm going to start with 2 corals. And then as those settle in and I get a feel for the system, we might add some more and some rock. And that's actually something a little bit interesting because we're going to add the corals and then I'm going to see what the corals could benefit from rock-wise. So it's literally just going to be empty with 2 corals in the light. I'll watch it and then I'll add some substrate and some stuff as needed. So this isn't one of the other tricks right here. This is live water, right? This is from an existing reef tank. We already seasoned the canister filter by running it on the system for a while. So we've got some bacteria happening that way. And then we're just, adding some live water here. All right, I think it's time I can add the fox coral. Somebody calling me. Oh no, Zach, not right now. All right, so this will be super easy. I'm just going to grab the fox coral I don't know how long he's been sitting down on here, and I think I glued him to a disc. Evan, you want to get a shot of this from the other side? Look at that bubbly boy. Look at that bubbly boy. This is I've grown it myself, but this was like a colony, right? So Scott Anderson of Mile High Reefer sent me that, or he brought me this. He actually dropped it off, and it was big at the time, and it has just look at all that space I have now. Look at all that space, and all we're going to do is just going to use it to kind of shuffle corals so everybody has a little bit more room. Normally, I wouldn't want to take a coral like this out of the water, but we're just going to go hop, hop, hoppity, hop. There we go. First coral in the tank. And like I said, we're just going to start with 2 corals and kind of build it up from there. I think we can grab Big Boy Bubbly. Big Boy Bubbly. Now, he's got a lot of very delicate bubbles, better known as vesicles. So if I pulled them out, man, those things would deflate like crazy. They would pop, and it would take some time for that coral to heal those bubbles. We don't want to do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to transport him over inside some water. Hey, buddy, I'm going to put you in your timeout zone. You can get as big as you want. Oh, here's a funny aside. I've actually glued him to the bottom of a Vertex pump base. So this is like the Vertex Alpha or something. What was that thing called? I forget what it's called. Vertex V160, Vertex something. I'm not sure. But here you can see it's glued to a base. And without adding any rock, you can see this base is covered with coralline. We've got a speck of Valonia on there. I'm going to try to move off. Bye, 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 bye. We got, some detritus here. That's just going to be a nice little biological bomb. And then we're just going to put him in here to move him over there. There we go. God, that thing is so glorious. Ooh, Lord. And it's got a little bit of the cat's eye. If you guys are familiar with the kind of bubble coral strains, some of them have a little bit of that cat's eye feature where they have kind of like a metallic or a colored stripe across the vesicle, and it looks like the cat's eye stones that you can get at a rock shop or something. Ooh, man, I barely touched that guy, and he got some good slime on my hand. But yeah, here you can see, coral never came out of the water. And we're just gonna, oh yeah, we're getting pretty close to full already. See, that was nice timing. All right, grab him by the base. This coral's barely deflated. And it wasn't acclimated. And that tank, it has no heater. So it's actually probably a good 4 or 5 degrees temperature difference between the two. But, that's another thing folks are catching on to is that corals are self-acclimating creatures. Hey, look at that. It's not a reef tank, but when these 2 open up, it's going to be enough. And I'm going to do it totally backwards just because it feels more natural. Let the corals be in here. Let them open up to their full size, and then just kind of determine how much rock, if any, they need to be built up. So, and for those of you just joining us, 1, make sure to give this video a like so it helps with discovery. 2, I'm using this canister filter purely for aesthetics. There's some seasoned biological media inside of it, and a little mechanical filtration, just catch a little funk and process some stuff. I guess we're going to let it go close enough to the top. That looks pretty good. If you have any questions about the studio or just setting up a random tank on a Wednesday afternoon, now's a good time. I'm going to wipe my hands off mostly for slime. And but yeah, corals don't really need that much. They don't need that much at all. So just a little bit of circulation, and that's about it. I mean, Evan, if you want to show them the tank to the right, this is our hospital tank here. And by hospital, I'm sorry, this is more of like a quarantine tank. The hospital tank is right here, but the lighting is terrible. This is a quarantine tank. So this is a bunch of corals we recently got from West Australia. They all go in here. There's no biomedia in here. There's a skimmer because there was a bacterial bloom, but it ran without a skimmer for, I don't know, a couple weeks, 3 weeks. But then once I put the skimmer on, it really helped to suck out that bacteria, and the tank looks normal. This thing's like 3 or 4 weeks old. Corals look fine, and the only reason they're still in here is because I don't have the room to put them. So some of these individual little meaty LPS corals. We've got a Wilsoni, an Indian Ocean Lord, and these Lobophilia robustas. Those are some corals I'd like to get into the Cade Aquarium. How blue is that right now? Oh yeah, that's not bad. It's still very realistic. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. How do you get your corals to be colorful? Oh, I didn't see that one. But man, I'm saving this one. I am saving this one for like a secret video because I'm so, wait, I'm about to overflow this tank live. Whoa, that would be bad. All right, so I think I'm just gonna crimp this. And there we go. And that should be pretty good. I'm gonna answer that question about coral color in a second. Let me make sure this is going pretty good. We'll sort out the holding of the intake and outlet and all that jazz. Let's see, what can we do here? Is that going to be all right? So yeah, the reason I went with the canister filter is because I could just put the pipes over there like that and call it good. I'm going to go grab a clamp just to keep those. Actually, you know what? We can live with that. All right, coral color. I have watched, listened, read everybody's question and everybody's answers about coral color. And you know what blows my freaking mind? No one starts out with your corals need to be healthy. You can have flawless water, perfect water flow, no parasites, perfect chemistry, trace elements, nutrients, everything. But if the coral's not healthy, it's not going to be colorful, right? That's what people should be asking. How do I get my corals healthy? And then the color will come. How you doing on battery over there? We're doing pretty good. So yeah, I feel like that is the number one trick for colorful corals. You have to have healthy corals. One thing you won't notice in these tanks is there's a few corals that are stagnating. They are under perfect flow, perfect lighting, perfect nutrients, perfect chemistry, more or less. And they're still looking at me. They're just sitting there looking at me. And they've been in great condition for half a year, 2 years sometimes before they wake up. So you can buy unhealthy corals or unhealthy frags that look kind of all right. And it might take them a really long time to come around. And I feel like, tell them you heard it on this live stream first. If you want colorful corals, you need healthy corals. If you don't have the health, you won't have the color, right? You can't put a coral skeleton into perfect conditions and expect colorful coral, right? Am I crazy right now? How do you make your corals healthy? That is the question, and that's going to be a whole video unto itself. I'm planning something big to really get the message out, but you know how to keep corals healthy. That's not a secret. There's no secret to keeping corals healthy. The only problem is sometimes you buy a frag or a colony that might be unhealthy, and if it doesn't perk up soon, you just know that that's an unhealthy coral. There's something bothering that coral inside out. It's hard to say. Cheers, everybody. I would use all the trace elements. You see the periodic table? You should be almost familiar with everything on that table, because if it's not beneficial for your corals, it's detrimental for your corals, right? So reefers 20, 25 years from now, they're going to be intimately familiar with iron, zinc, molybdenum, manganese, I said iron, zinc, cobalt, and all the other things we don't want in our tank. But that's kind of beyond this. So let's go get this fun, cheapo Amazon light, because I fired it up before, but I have not yet put it over corals. And then we got look, the coral tank is done. The coral tank is done. Corals just barely care. Man, they look really good right there. All right, I'm gonna go grab that light. You can stay right there. Thanks everybody for tuning in. This is our token end of 2021 live stream. Realized we had not done any live streams this year, so had to get one out. If you have more questions, go ahead and fire off. I'm sure Windsor's been moderating over there, making sure everybody's behaving. If you're enjoying the stream, now's a good time to give it a like, because the more people we have watching, the longer we're going to do this. I'm aiming for an hour. How far are we in so far? Half? 35. Yeah, we got a good another half over it. All right, let's plug this in real quick. What was the question? Oh, blue stag. Which one? There's like so many blue stags. We have 4 or 5 strains of blue stags. There's the This is the Immortal Tort. I collected it in the Solomon Islands. This is Derek's Indecision. I'm thinking about renaming it because that name doesn't really have any cachet. This is the old school California Tort. And this is the one I call the Hardline Hokey, which I collected in the Solomon Islands. But if you give me one moment, I'm going to fix up the lights on the tank behind Evan because it's turning blue right now, and it looks a lot better under white lighting. Whee! All righty. All right, before we show off a couple more blue stag, I'm going to show you off this light. So what's neat is it's all medium output LED. What is it, Lux Care or something? It was like $50, and it's got like this richness to it. It's got some reds, it's got some greens, some whites, a little bit of, token kind of UV. It's not really UV. We're starting to really learn that now. I hope these legs will straddle this tank. Oh yeah, no problem. No problem. And one thing that's cool about this light, again, if you're just a little bit savvy, you can figure this stuff out. But it has one power supply that goes into like a little bit of a remote, and I can cycle through the colors. But the remote plugs into 2 different outlets. So theoretically, you should be able to take that small wall wart. It's probably 12 volt, 1 amp or something. We're drawing water a little bit over there. Hold that thought. So I pulled 20 gallons out, and I just heard it sucking. But we were ready for this. So we got the water going. Got water right here. Ooh. Y'all hear that splishity splash splash? Here we go. See, we prepared for this live stream just a little bit, just a wee little bit. I should be. I don't know about the total water volume of the studio, but this main system is 600 gallons, give or take. All right, so let's get this light on here. And here we go. Again, I think everything's set to dim right now. Everything's set to dim, but man, if that's not enough for those kind of corals. All right, so you cycle through the whites. And then there's the blues, full strength. How's that look, Evan?
Looks white.
Looks white. All right, I can turn down the whites a little bit. Ooh, that's nice. Oh, yeah, look at that. Just first try. So we have our corals in timeout. This is me stretching it out, right? We could have built this tank in 10 minutes, but I wanted to walk through the studio and kind of show you off some stuff. So here's a fun one. If you guys are a Mobius user and you were surprised by the new Mobius 2.0, let me know, because there's a couple things in there that caught me off guard, but we're getting for the feel of it. So what I'd like to do is whiten up the lights here on the Mega Acro tank, the super highlight tank, so you can really see how blue this thing is. There we go. Woo! Okay, maybe a little too much. How's that look, Evan? Let me take the reds and greens down. That might be a little much right there. Yep. I've been getting that question since we started up the studio, and the favorite tank is the same as the favorite coral. It's the one that's kind of like doing the best or blooming the most recently. So, for example, like that Cade tank, because of the bubble coral problem, I've just kind of been letting it chill over there and haven't done much to it. But in the new year, we'll do a video kind of curating the stuff. And then that will be my favorite tank once I've got it to where I want it to be. And then that'll wane and I'll go work on another tank and another tank. But no, every tank has something different to offer. Every tank has something different to offer. So I want to walk you a little bit through some of these corals here. Oh boy. All right. Yes, that's pretty nice. Okay, I'm going to turn off a little bit more flow so you can see even more and grab my pointy stick. How's it coming up on there? Thanks to everybody for tuning in. Make sure to, for those of you who have been here from the beginning, thank you so much. For those of you who are just joining us, make sure to like the stream so that it can be discovered by our fellow reefers. So someone asked about blue corals. So here's the staghorn that I grafted, and it is firmly growing down onto its old skeleton. Looks so cool. We got a ton of tips, and basically was able to turn 2 colonies into 1 quite quickly. This is the, what do we call that? Immortal Tort. This one and this one. This one is the old school California Tort. This is the Hoaxami right here, the hardline Hokie. And then we have 2 of the Lightning Stag, I'm sorry, the Derrickson Decision. We've got a California Tort, and then just a solid blue tenuous. Yeah, I think that's enough for the blue corals for now. Oh man, those tips are getting tore up by the fast flow. I'm gonna have to move these guys. Their axial tips are getting into the strong flow. It's kind of preventing them from growing normally. And that's one of the cool things about having 2 tanks is I can tell there's always one colony doing better than the others, right? So these are doing fine, looking good and colorful, but that one over there just has a little bit more of the colorful tip. Let's see if I need to add a little bit more water. Probably do. How are we doing in the question department? Okay. Okay. All right. Well, let's post up here next to our brand new tank while I answer some of these questions. So if you're a true like Weeping Willow fan, you've found the old articles where I talk about the weeping of the polyps because I have plenty of long polyp leather corals. First of all, I remember starting to share the stories of the Weeping Willow thinking no one would ever care about a brown sarcophyton. And then something clicked. People started, making up names for corals that weren't the Weeping Willow. And then people care about brown soft corals. And I think that's awesome. So kudos to you if you have a brown sarcophyton of any time, green polyp. We're not going to exclude you guys. But long polyp leathers, there's a lot of sarcophytons that can have very long polyps. But there's only like one subset of those that can have very thin and very long polyps to the point where when you turn the flow off, the tentacles, the polyps weep over the crown of the toadstool. And that's an easy way to tell, but you can also tell just by the way it moves, right? So my long polyp leather polyps, they're like 3 or 4 inches, and they move, but they're not. They're still kind of like stiff, they kind of do this. Whereas the Weeping Willow leather is all like, hey, give this video a thumbs up if you like how this little tank came out. I believe over the next few days, as these corals settle in, this bubble should be like that, and then the fox coral, he'll get bigger, but he's not going to really push up. He's going to kind of push outwards. And I think I might put in the elegance coral in there, just have like the triumvirate. The only thing this tank needs is a heater to keep the temperature normal. And instead of adding an auto top off, I'll have to put together a nice glass lid, which will retain the heat and reduce or eliminate evaporation. And like I said, we're not going to do anything to this tank, no testing, no dosing, just once a week. We're going to drain this out, put that water in the system, and then give this thing a fresh refill of system water. And it might not be 100%, but we'll take it down this way. And yeah, it'll be a nice little showcase here. Evan, you'll see over there, we have the quarantine tank. We have these satellite tanks at the end of our coral tables. And then, Evan, if you want to show them, this is one of our full-on nurseries right here. This is super duper cool. Let me see if I can dial into the lighting. Just shoot it straight on. But if you want to show them from above, you can see all the Christmas tree worms are doing awesome. I don't think we've lost any. Any other questions? Good questions? Shout out to everybody watching right now.
It's a little grainy, but not that, right?
Yeah. Well, there's too many of you guys watching. You're sucking down all the mega beats. Mega beats. That's what's going on. But here we have all the Christmas tree worms. A lot of new frags that are just kind of left here to just get bigger and thicker before they go out and put on display. Allows us to make sure they're really clean and feed them extra. And on the bottom here, you can see all of the flower pot corals. I have to get on a different network real quick. Any questions? I know there's a ton of questions. I know they're flying by. Ooh, that looks really good. That looks really good. I'm gonna turn up the whites a little bit. Hopefully it doesn't just, oh, yep, there it is. So here you can see, this is just, it's about the dimensions of a 30-gallon long. Yeah, so I just turned the light on and all the Christmas tree worms just kind of got spooked and they went inside. And there's a gyre plate there in the middle to really separate out the flow. The bottom is mostly flower pots, all Gonioporas. I can kill the flow on this one too. I think it's in wave mode right now. Yeah, there you go. But this is where I do a lot of the targeted feeding, and then all the food that's left over in here will drain down into the tank behind it. So I can just go ham on this tank, feed it whatever I want for the feather dusters, the Christmas tree, no, sorry, the coral hermits, all the corals. And then one of my super favorites is the snake polyps. I'll just grab this one right here. Well, I'll just point to it. This is the Irish snake polyps. It's a bright green with orange bumps. Really beautiful coral. And this is, somebody asked about a rare coral. This is one of the rarest. And it's so bizarre. It's so bizarre because it's a shallow water coral that only opens up at night. Explain that to me. Shallow water, it gets blasted with light in like intertidal habitats. If any of you guys follow Wild Shores of Singapore.org, they're always doing like low tide crawls, and they find that stuff in super shallow water all the time. Here you can get a better look at a couple other strains that I have. This one's a little bit pistachio with some white bumps right here. This one's a little bit greenish overall. And then here's a couple different strains of Galaxias. They're also in their timeout, but you know, I really debated what to put in this aquarium right here. I was thinking, first of all, Deepwater SPS and anacros. Then I was like, all right, let's put all the Galaxias in there because they need to be in timeout. And then I was like, I also have the same problem with euphyllias, all the overflow euphyllias all over the place. And then I decided, you know what? These two guys are such space hogs. We're going to put them in a tank where they can have all the room in the world. And here's a euphyllia you almost never see. If you're not looking out for it, it's actually not that rare, and you'll find it at some frag shows. So back here, it's kind of like a micro torch, and these are Euphyllia cristata. And any of you guys correcting me back there, yes, these are Fimbria cristata. This one kind of has the orange tips. This one has the yellow tips. This one has the green tips. And you know, there's a few other varieties, but it's like a really small torch coral where the polyps don't get long and flowy. The corallites grow really close together. And you know what? I don't think it'd be too inaccurate to consider it like a missing link between the torch corals and the Galaxias. If you pay attention to Galaxias, they have the same color motif as euphyllias and Fimbriaphyllias. So yeah, you know, we set up this tank in just a few minutes while showing off the studio. I want to thank everybody for supporting the channel, listening to Reef Therapy, reading Reef Builders, and participating in this. You know, it's really fun to engage with you guys, and that's why I want to do this live stream. I know we got a lot more questions than I was able to get around to. Is there any more that stood out, Windsor? Branching bubbles. I want to see branching bubble. Oh, I have one token piece, but of true branching bubble, what I consider true branching bubble. And I've been so like gun shy to move it on display, but there's one little piece right here of like true Pleurogyra simplex. I had some challenges, bro. I had some issues where I got a couple colonies and they were just having like a slow decline. But here you can see the true branching bubble. So it should, branch out like that very often. Where's the other polyp? Oh yeah, they are right there. Yeah, it's not great focus.
It's still out of focus for sure.
But there are lots of bubbles that branch. And so I have a handful of those over there, but they're not the true Pleurogyra simplex like you saw over here. So I'm going to turn off some of the accessory lights so we can see this tank a little bit more. Any other good questions for winding it down? Oh man, favorite beginner coral and why? Evan, want to come around here? Whew. You know what? Why don't you guys tell us what's your favorite beginner corals? God, can you do better than Euphilia? I mean, can you do better than that? Like it's so rewarding. You know, it opens and it closes and lets you know what's going on in the tank. It's hardy. It's cheap. If you kill it, you probably started with a branching piece that is replaceable anyway. Um, yeah, I think a lot of people will agree that Euphilia is just like top dog when it comes to just best beginner coral. If you guys will, if you rewind the clock 3 years, when I set up a token nano tank here in the studio, before we had all these tanks, I just loaded that thing up with a bunch of Euphilia. Um, let's see, what else? Green polyp leather and a couple like random Ghanies. And that was another 1 day tank build. Nobody really got up in arms on that one, even though it was set up in 1 day. What a beautiful little tank, man. This light is actually great. First of all, you're not going to be breaking any records with this light, okay? If you put this light on a smaller tank, like what do we have down here? The 45U, it's going to concentrate the light a little bit more. So there's no reason you couldn't do SPS in a really small tank. It's like $50, you know? You could double up the light. Man, that's pretty good light. Once again, I want to reiterate for those of you just joining me, this is an Amazon special, Lux Care, 25 watts, about $50. If you buy 5 of them, I'm sure you're going to have an issue with one immediately and another one soon, but we got lucky on this one. There is a smaller size, and this is just me like trying to make things affordable. So, got a cheap glass, well, a really nice glass tank, decent light, just a canister filter, and you can build it up from there. I'm actually really looking forward to scooping this guy from my desk because I can see this really well, and this is just like a showcase. The only thing that's missing, and I am going to put a background on the back just to make the corals pop a little bit more. Any other questions?
Someone asked several times what's good food for feather dusters. Probably just coral food in general, but
So someone asked about coral duster food, and man, I don't know that there's a best. I do know that the finer stuff, they seem to catch it more than the coarse stuff. They catch it, but I'm not sure if they can chew it, right? They have really small mouth parts. Again, I don't have a great answer, but what I can tell you is when it comes to these feather dusters, Evan, if you want to give them a look, a top-down look, I have fed them everything. I've fed them crushed flake, my frozen coral food. There's a video where I just take all the coral foods, soak them, then freeze it. So I have ready, pre-soaked frozen cubes. They eat everything. And one of the easy ways to tell if they're eating it is when I do a good feeding on this tank, about 30 minutes, between 30 minutes to 2 hours later, there's little noodles all in the tank, and it's just their poop, just their poop. I hope that's coming through on camera for the people who are watching it live and somewhat compressed. I believe this video will be in slightly better quality at the end of the live stream. I want to give a shout out to Keith, Devin, Ryan, these guys that do live stream all the time. I'm just out here doing my one annual live stream, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. It takes a lot of work to do live stream. I've been talking nonstop for about 50 minutes, but I want to thank everybody for tuning in, for commenting, for giving this video a like. I hope just fun little most of an hour to spend later in the day. Maybe you just got off work and now you're playing with your reef tank. So thanks everybody for tuning in. We have one more question.
someone asked, Matthew F. asked, what do you see as the next tech upgrade that will become mainstream?
That's a great question to actually end on because I've been making this prediction for a while. He asked what was the next tech upgrade that's going to be happening in the reef aquarium world. Hands down, automatic filter rolls. Automatic filter rolls. We're not, for me, it's not even about, except for my fish tank, it's not about keeping nutrients low. It's about keeping the tank clear. And it's also about keeping your equipment clean, right? If your automatic filter roll is catching all the funk before it goes into your pump, before it goes into your needle wheel, before it goes into your venturi, you're just going to have much less problems overall. And no one should be worrying about their nutrients getting too low. You can feed more. You can put a little spritz of potassium nitrate in there, and you're fine. You know, it is like swimming upstream trying to deal with high nutrients while you're still feeding your tank and you have a full-on reef. If your biggest issue is that your tank is too clean, like you feed a little bit more, sprinkle a little nitrate in there. So for sure, the automatic filter rolls are, just they will be standard. They will be totally standard on future Waterbox, Cade, Red Seas, or at least as an option. So I was really happy to see Clarity put out a third generation because I have worked with and pushed the first and second generation to their limits. And Red Sea also just put out their roller mat, that's something I said 2-3 years ago. I was like, man, if there was an Interzoo 2020, no pandemic, for sure they would have had a filter roll out at Interzoo 2020. And I'm sure that was their game plan. Who knows if that would have transpired. But I'm really looking forward to testing those out in the future. So I know we got a lot of questions. I'll do my best to answer comments on the video once it's uploaded live. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Thanks to everybody who gave the video a like to help it be more discoverable. I hope everybody has a very safe end of the year, and we'll catch you very soon. Very soon, we're gonna have a video on the top 10 new products of 2021. I'm gonna try to get that out in the next couple of days, and but yeah, we'll come back at it in 2022, hot and heavy, and just bring you a lot more goods, corals, fish, gear, and stuff like that. So thanks for being part of the community, and we catch you guys in another video very soon. Bye, guys. Did you end it?